biggest challenge areas, try to solve for those, and then as we start to solve for those, we may displace some other things, so we look to find new homes for those. We spent a lot of time talking about organization in the building, right? So how can we maximize connection between similar departments? How can we get a safer entry sequence into the building? Maybe how do we target a couple areas that we are potentially underutilizing, library specifically, which we can talk more about tonight as well. Okay? And so in the last meeting, we took consensus that a lot of the puzzle pieces were starting to make a lot of sense. I think the group really saw some value in the shift of the admin office to the front, having an east and a west entry, but really having kind of a shared office area, if you will. Again, we'll talk through these. The group saw there being value, I think, in the STEM concept, where we start to gather like departments around a shared common space.
As long as you don't call it STEM. It just really bothers me
because the math is not.
Math is not there, and neither is the science. Okay. Please give it another name.
Okay, STEM. No, I respect that. Nope,
Yeah.
And our intent right now is not, and we're actually not moving science over, and we're not moving math
right,
over.
so it's confusing to the general population that realizes that STEM means music.
And it's not atypical. I would say most of the time when we talk STEM in high schools, we're not relocating all those departments together, but the curriculum is blending and does generally want a hub to blend around. Okay, and so a lot of times what we would do is even create a kind of a universal classroom within this area that might support a math class coming down so that they can use it for a portion of the semester or for one day when they team up with another teacher. Same thing with science. A lot of times we would create a kind of a general physics lab that would support some of the engineering. Science as departments may stay where they are. We're proposing to renovate those, but we have some destination or some satellite spaces that maybe support that curriculum. Okay? And so I think the bigger picture, the goal there is to set the stage for more cross-curricular collaboration. Okay, it's a mouthful, but the goal there is that teachers can work together when you talk about engineering, when you talk about tech ed, we talk about art, right? So a lot of the things that the art department with digital arts and some of their 3D printing and their laser cutting, there's no reason that they can't be sharing a fab lab or some of the makerspace environments that the tech ed would or the engineering would. A lot of business departments are starting to utilize those spaces to support their curriculum. And so the goal here would be to create a shared environment that we can start to capitalize on that, okay? That does tie into the tech ed, the more traditional tech ed areas, okay? So if you remember back when we toured the high school, we looked at the metals lab, the auto space, the wood space. We saw a lot of equipment in space, right? We saw a lot of great equipment, but it was tightly packed into the existing rooms that were there. So we had talked about is there a way that we could maybe more safely and appropriately spread that equipment out a little bit, so can those footprints grow a little? And so some of this revolves around trying to right-size some of those spaces as well. There was then some dialogue about the library, and that's another area we're going to talk about tonight as well. Okay, so what I'm going to walk you through is the updated concept. So we took the feedback that the group gave last night. We went and spent some time at the high school. We met with some of the staff there. We talked about some of these big picture visions. We did not go room by room. We did not say, you know, exactly what equipment goes in this room, but we talked more general. What do you think of these moves? Okay, and I think generally it had a lot of really good dialogue to build on a lot of the things that you provided as feedback in the last meeting. So those 2 points are suggesting that, you know, we're potentially heading in a really good direction here. Okay, and so for those that weren't with us last time, I'll give us a quick organization. The key first move is to shift admin up to this front bar, okay, which would allow us to consider a east and a west entry off of what, when you approach the building intuitively, looks like an entry. For guests, for first-time users, for the general public, that really does look like an entry point, even though it's not. Those stairwells are sized almost like lobbies, but they really don't serve that function.
Do you have a diagram like this somewhere?
We're going to hand out a big plan. Maybe Craig, you can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that would help.
You have a floor plan. That's what I was looking for.
Yep. And so you do have the existing building plan here.
Okay,
Let's take a look at that. The other piece to that is not just getting the main office up front, but how can we bring some of the other administrative and student services all together into one area? Okay, so the goal here would be start to shift our guidance and some of our other student services, offices and meeting spaces and conference rooms all into this zone. Okay, and the hope there is that we can obviously start to maximize our efficiency with our staff and how we're utilizing space and sharing space. Starts to kind of organize that into one core space within the building. After talking with staff, we've realized that there were a couple other ancillary office areas that we hadn't accounted for, so this started to wrap around the corners, okay? But really the intent basically stays the same. The next key piece you'll see are the science areas, so we have the eastern and west science. That's really not proposing anything other than a renovation of those existing spaces. So bring those labs up to kind of a standard science lab that we would see today. Okay? So organizationally stay where they are, but showing investment in both of those. We talked about the STEM commons and starting to gather our tech ed, our metals, shifting art out of the zone. We have art in this corner today and across the hall. We shift art up into what is the office area today, okay, which gets them off of the STEM commons, or STEAM commons, but then also gives them direct natural light, maybe even access to that courtyard. So I think there was some dialogue about the value in them starting to utilize that courtyard, maybe even populating it with some sculptures and kind of taking ownership of it. I think that's a really nice adjacency. The other piece that came out of our dialogue as a kind of a potential vision that was then, I think, verified with staff, and they saw value in that as well, is really looking at our locker room bar here on this first floor, as well as the lower level bar as well. So we have wrestling rooms and locker rooms along that zone. Underutilized, outdated, poorly, I would say poorly, difficult to supervise. They supervise them very well, but they're difficult to supervise. Okay? And we have them on multiple levels. So one of the thoughts, and this potentially makes a lot of sense, is to build a modest addition to support new locker rooms. Okay? And so what that does is slides the locker rooms into a zone here. We also heard the need for some potential PE or athletic storage, so there may be some logical adjacency to kind of building once in that same area, really showing those happening in this corner of the field house. You're starting to see some dashed lines. That's us inferring some circulation through there. Okay, so we'd have some hallways that would move through so you could access those locker rooms without having to go through the gym. Okay, so there may be some benefit there as well. And what that allows us to do is really look at that first floor and the lower level for repurposing those locker rooms and wrestling rooms into other uses. Okay, and so obviously we have need for wrestling room improvements, sizing them correctly, updating them. We may be able to get them both on the same level. Maybe they both happen at the lower level together. Okay, so they can have their loud music and kind of moving, throwing big tires and whatever else the wrestling guys do, and that can happen in the lower level. Clearly, I was a wrestler. Yeah. I was actually a golfer. So. And then the classroom bar, what we have labeled as classroom, obviously cues us up to potentially renovate that whole floor for other classrooms. Okay, and we're going to have need for classrooms as we look at growing some of these tech ed and metal spaces. Keep in mind, we're also displacing classrooms up in here, so we're looking to find some new homes for them. So a logical bar, not direct natural light there, one downside to that, but certainly available space for us to get quite a few good-sized classrooms.
I have a question about the lockers. When you talk about lockers, so that big hallway with lockers on the first floor, kind of across from the cafeteria, you're talking about getting rid of those hallway lockers?
No.
These are locker rooms.
Oh, locker rooms.
Excuse me. Yep, locker rooms. I'm sorry if you misheard that. Yeah. So lockers, not proposing any big sweeping changes.
Okay.
Now, these are the locker rooms, PE and athletic locker
Okay.
rooms. Okay.
Was that the one that the girls use or don't use?
This, well, we're looking at the whole bar right now. So we have, we have a wrestling room, two locker rooms there and there. Then we have the locker rooms and wrestling room on the lower level as well. So we're proposing to move all of them up.
Does that mean the addition of showers to those areas?
To the new locker rooms?
Yes.
We would more than likely hear that we would need showers in there. Yep.
So what was reviewed when we walked through the girls' locker room?
What was reviewed with it?
When we went through it?
As the needs? Is that what you're asking?
Well, how many people, how many of the girls? I thought, who was it, Brian Highmark was taking us through, and he said, for some reason, generally, the girls weren't using the locker rooms?
Yeah, feel free to jump in from the high school use perspective if you'd like. From a shower standpoint, that is one area that we are seeing as we design new schools and renovate locker rooms. We're designing less showers, okay? But when we have them, they're generally now not large gang showers, kind of shared showers. They're individual stall showers. That's the only way they would get used today. So what we would see is probably less square footage dedicated to showers. We'd still have them. We'd have them in both PE as well as our varsity or athletic locker rooms. But certainly probably have less square footage dedicated to overall locker or shower space.
Because I thought they were talking about using that for storage.
Yeah, and again, like we had mentioned, we're underutilizing those locker rooms, and so I think we can right-size those. We probably don't need as much locker room square footage. How they get divided up, if we have kind of shared PE and varsity lockers, how do we handle when visitors come for games, all that would all get woven into what that addition could be. Okay. The square footage we're showing is not, I don't think, at this point, it's not reflective of exactly how large. That's our best practice. If we were to design a school of this size, this many students, we think this is close, but we certainly need to spend some more time with staff.